Around 1917, female workers in the U.S. Radium Corporation factory began to contract radiation poisoning from painting radium watch dials. This is our story.
So much light. Daylight. All the time. And on sunny days, it almost felt like you were sitting outside. It was just that bright.
And that surprised you, Grace?
It was a factory. I thought it'd be dark and dirty.
Then why go work there?
I was 15. You know, it was time I paid my own way.
Pay your own way? What about school?
Oh, I didn't miss it so much. The girls were all so nice, and the work wasn't hard. It wasn't like factory work, really. It was more like art. Painting those dials. We were artists.
I'm not the one you should be talking to. It's Dr. Von Sashaki. He's the one behind all of this.
Now, Arthur, you know he won't talk to us.
It was his process.
Tell me about that process, Arthur. You used, powder?
There was powder. The girls would mix the powder with an adhesive to make the paint. That whole business with the brushes, I didn't invent that. They were doing that when I started here.
But you knew about it.
We all knew about it. We just didn't know what it meant.
Irene?
In here.
Well, Irene, what? What are you doing?
Shut the door.
Molly is working inspection today.
Yeah, is that bad?
Not for us.
She's gonna be sitting in this room all day by herself, in the dark, checking dials.
Poor thing.
Poor thing.
So, we're going to give her a little surprise.
Please, please.
No! Like the Cheshire Cat!
Won't that make her mad?
Let her get me out.
That's half the fun.
I don't want to make her mad.
Ugh, Grace, do you have to be that way about everything?
What way?
Your teeth. Grace, put some on your teeth.
Ain't like Amalia don't deserve it. She paints more dials than any girl on the floor. Still can't be bothered to talk to nobody either. You say, Amalia, what's new? She just looks at you funny.
Well, I don't think she can speak much English.
Wouldn't kill her to smile, would it?
Oh, she's coming.
Oh, get the light!
Mrs. McNeil!
Painting your faces, have you gone off your minds?
It was just a joke.
Just a joke. A joke like that can lose a girl her job.
Now, Miss McNeil, I am sure that is not necessary.
I don't tolerate no foolishness, Doctor.
Yeah, foolishness we don't want, do we? Mr. Reader, this is the inspection room, where the dials come after they have been painted. And these are some of the girls who should on the floor be working. Girls, this is Mr. Reader, my new vice president and your new plant manager.
Here I was, telling Mr. Reader what a fine bunch of girls we have here. Sure, now he must think I am halfway out of my mind.
Mr. Reader, perhaps you have some words for the girls? Mrs. McNeil.
Girls, gather round. Quickly. This paint you're playing with. Very expensive, you realize this? Good. It takes several tons of ore to produce even a single gram of radium. Now that's a lot of work. Hard work for our men in the extraction plant. But they do this work gladly. You know why? Do you know why we all work so hard? What we are all working towards?
The war?
The war. Girls, the dials you paint save lives. Our boys in the field depend on them to read in the dark, no mistaking what they might see. So if you fool around and don't take your work seriously, then you're playing right into the hands of the Kaiser. We don't want that now, do we?
Of course not.
Good. So, let's get back to work and leave the tomfoolery at home.
I have an appointment, I'm sure you...
Mr. Reader? Well, I wanted to say I am sorry. I won't do nothing like this ever again.
Let's just say this. If you do right by us, then we'll do right by you.
May 17th, 1921. Nancy Jane Harlan for the New York Graphic. The Graphic's only girl reporter.
Jack Youngwood for the Newark Ledger, Newark's first source for news.
Madame Marie Curie, eminent French scientist, embarks on the whistle-stop tour of the United States.
First stop, New York City, where she is greeted by an enthusiastic crowd of well-wishers.
The High Priestess of Science is headed for Washington, where she will receive a gift of 1 gram of radium, valued at $100,000.
Purchased for her by the Marie Curie Radium Club, an association of 100,000 American women.
Who each gave $1 to support humanitarian research with radium.
Grace, over here.
Irene, I got my certificate. Member Marie Curie Radium Club.
You gave $1.
It's all for science.
Science. What about my room and board?
Welcome all. I must ask you, ladies and gentlemen of the press, to please limit your questions. Madame Curie is about to embark on an exhaustive tour of the country, and she is under strict doctor's orders to rest. However, in the typical fashion of a scientist who thinks only of her research, her life's work, she has refused to rest.
Madame Curie, what will you do with the radium?
Eh?
What will you do with the radium?
Oh, I will continue my experiments to find better methods for treatment of the cancer.
Is radium a cure for all cancer?
Cure for the cancer, you say? Cure for the cancer, that is so. It is already cured all kinds of cancer.
But some doctors dispute that.
Then they do not understand this method. There is no question. Radium will cure cancer.
Madame
Curie, can I have one quick
Excuse
question?
me, Madame Curie, how have you managed to devote yourself both to science and to your children?
Well, it has not been easy, you know. But my daughter shared my gratitude to the American women for their interest in science and my work. I am the most grateful.
Madame Curie,
No more questions! No more questions. Mrs. Andrew Carnegie has sent a car, and I will be joining her to escort Dr. Curie to Washington, where President Harding will present the prize of 1 gram of radium.
You see that, Charlie? That right there is a marketing opportunity. Oh, let's send her one of those customer watches. Courtesy of the United States Radium Corporation,
We'll need a press release.
That's right. Radium isn't just for scientists to study. Yeah. The average American can share in its glory every night. Luminous watches, luminous clocks. Anyone who thinks of these as novelties should consider all of the other advancements in the past 50 years. The electric light, the telegraph,
The telephone.
the automobile. Inventions all once described as novelties or as toys
Are now essentials to modern life. Got it. That ought to sell some watches.
Well, watches absolutely, but that's not where the growth is now, Charlie. You heard the lady. It's in the medical market.
And Standard Chemical owns it.
But that's only because Von Sashaki lets them take it. If we wanted to, we could take half of their business right now. It's just a matter of positioning.
Standard Chemical publishes its own journal, sends it out monthly to 12,000 doctors. But we could do something similar.
Something scholarly that the doctors would respect.
A bibliography, listing every article ever published on Radium.
But with capsule reports to save the doctors time. They get the information, find it fast.
And have us to thank for it.
We'll send it to every doctor in the U.S. Radium Society.
Every doctor in the American Medical Association.
That's the spirit, Charlie, advertising. It's the way of the future. Remember, it's not just the product. It's the way you promote it.
You should have seen it, Grace. The church was filled with flowers, lilies and carnations and orchids. You know how Amalia loved orchids.
They weren't orchids.
They were orchids, Irene.
Flags.
Orchids. I know an orchid when I see one, purple orchids. And the smell, Grace, the smell. It was like
Flowers or
no. It was like heaven, was what I was gonna say. It was like heaven.
Like heaven. Catherine, it was just a funeral. You make it out like it was some Valentino picture.
It wasn't just a funeral, it was Amalia's. And it was beautiful. You should have seen it, Grace. The church was like the botanical garden. And the company sent a big spray of flowers too, carnations.
Moms.
Yellow carnations.
Those were mums.
well, it sounds like a nice service anyhow. Girls, the whistle has already gone. Now then, I've received new instructions this day. We're going back to the old way of pointing the brushes. We was losing too much paint on the cloth. But, yes, Grace, is there something you wish to say? Dr. Von Sashaki told me not to do that. He said it's unsanitary.
Unsanitary. Well, I can't hardly believe he'd say such a thing. We've done this since I started here. You must have misunderstood him.
Yes, ma'am. And you're not to get any new brushes until you're done with the old. They've got to be so bad, you can't get a point no more.
You can't make a quota like that.
Well, you'll do your best then, since I have my instructions.
I need a new brush.
It's not for us to be asking questions, is it? It's for us to do the work.
I have my instruction, girls. I have my instructions.
Here's an instruction for you. McNeil, let some of the starch out of your corset.
Was she at the service?
McNeil? Are you kidding? You think she'd cross the street for her own mother?
Most everybody else was, though. You was about the only girl on the floor who wasn't there.
I wanted to come, but Ma was working and I had to watch the little ones.
You could have brought them.
All 7?
Well, if it was me, I'd try to get there.
Just lay off. Grace feels bad as it is.
Many of the fellas there?
Oh, yeah. Lots of fellows from upstairs. Mr. Roth from the front office. Dr. Von Sashaki was there. And Mr. Reeder.
And he left early.
So? He was there all the same. Oh, and Grace. You know that one fellow from Crystallizing, the one with the red hair? He was there, you know who I mean?
Oh, the tall fellow with the freckles?
That's the one who snaps his fingers all the time?
George.
Jerry.
I think it is George.
It's Jerry. Jerry Mallon. He's the one who was always talking to Amalia in the day room.
That's right. Oh, Grace! When the mass was over, he goes over to the coffin and he goes like this he goes. No.
Yes.
Really? Really?
Oh, for pity's sake.
Well, he did.
So what if he did?
So what? He was in love with her. That's so what? Don't you think so, Grace?
Well, I guess he had to be if he did all that.
Can you imagine? If he loved her and he never told her, never could bring himself to say because she was so beautiful and he was so shy. And now it's too late. It's too late. Their love is forever thwarted. He never told her. And they'll never get a chance to ever again.
Poor Amalia.
Poor Amalia.
Poor kid.
Her family took it awful bad, Grace. Albina, Kinta, everybody, every one of them crying. Even her father crying so bad. I never saw a man cry before, not like that, just bawling like a baby.
And you know why, too.
Because their daughter had died.
Oh, what she died from.
Irene, don't go spreading stories.
It's not a story. Albina told us. No reason Grace shouldn't know.
No what? No what? Amalia?
Ain't it awful? Albina said her father's fit to be tied to 6 girls at home and ain't none of them ever going to a dance again.
And all because Amalia upped and died from syphilis. What? I can't help it if that's what she died from.
You don't know that for sure.
It's on the death certificate.
Anemia and complications with syphilis.
Amalia was ever so nice.
Guess she got around more than we knew.
Okay. Maybe it's a mistake. I mean, maybe the doctor got it wrong.
Come on.
He could have got it wrong. Doctors are wrong sometimes.
That's true. Doctor was wrong about on Ivy.
What's Mama got to do with it?
Irene, don't you remember? Up to the day she died, Doctor said on Ivy would be fine, said take a cup of tea, get a good night's rest. And 2 days later, we was taking her to the Rosedale Cemetery.
Girls, your attention please. The gentlemen are here to make an announcement.
Thank you, Mrs. McNeil. Girls, we are here today to put a couple of rumors to rest.
And to explain some changes. Yeah?
Yes. As some of you may have heard by now, Dr. Von Sashaki is stepping down. But he would like to take this time
to make this goodbye. And Mr. Rieder has kindly accepted. Some of you I have known since you were little girls, coming here during the war, working so hard, day after day at the bench, 200, 300, some of you 500 dials a day. So excited to be part of our work here. When this company I start, in my own kitchen, mixing up the paint, I knew I'd found something miraculous to make life better, easier, and now, what do I read? More and more uses there are for radium, more than I ever dreamed possible.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes, thank you, Doctor. Well, now, girls, seeing that the doctor is a very busy man and must be on his way, let's wish him one final goodbye with a round of applause. Excellent. So, now,
And
girls,
Mr. Rieder, let us good luck wish to you as well. To the plate he steps as your new company president. Our congratulations to you.
Yes, thank you.
When Mr. Rieder came 4 years ago to us, I saw in him a young man of great
Yes,
enterprise
thank
and great ambition.
Thank you.
Little did I guess that this would be the direction his ambition would take us, but that is one of the great things about this country. The opportunities it can provide to a young man and his friends.
And so,
And
girls,
so, ladies, let us wish him the very best of luck in the new direction he intends the company to take.
New direction?
With the slowdowns in dial painting,
Now, Doctor.
and the business moving into the medical market, There will be a lot of changes. Yeah?
What the doctor is referring to. Some of our larger customers have been setting up dial painting studios of their own.
Which means less work for our girls here.
Only in the short run, however. I hear the Waterbury Clock Company in Connecticut is looking for help setting up their new studio. We were planning on making this announcement next week, but we will do it now. Mrs. McNeil?
Well, we were thinking about sending some of you girls up there.
And the work is supervisory in nature, which means generally higher pay. You had some girls in mind, correct?
Louise Conlon was one right here. Sarah Deutsch, Lena McCarthy, and Catherine Shaw. I have the entire list downstairs. I will post it tomorrow.
Excellent. Well, seeing as we are all on the clock, I will leave you all to your work.
My very best wishes to all of you girls.
And that's back to work with you girls.
So you gonna do it, Catherine? You gonna take the job?
Grace, would you go all the way to Connecticut?
Me, I don't know. I mean, it's awful far. Tommy would have a fit.
Come on, Grace, it'd be fun. Wouldn't it be fun, Irene? Irene?
Irene, whoa, 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 whoa. Are you all right?
What? Yeah. Why wouldn't I be?
Your mouth is bleeding.
What?
$35 a week and she quits the place.
There's more to life than money.
That's what you say when you're young, Tom, but you and Grace get to be my age with a house full of kids underfoot? Thank God for every penny you put by.
We got money put by.
How much?
Enough to get married on.
Well, it don't take much to get married on. Do you have enough to stay married on?
You let us get married, then we'll find out.
Are you still eating, Tommy?
It's good.
You're gonna get fat.
Gotta keep up his strength. He works hard for his money.
Don't start, Ma.
Oh, I didn't say nothing. It's the father who hit the roof
He
over
didn't
it.
hit the roof.
You should have seen the man's face, Tom, when he found out Grace wasn't working no more. I mean, most girls would give their eye teeth for a job like that. Good money, easy work, nice-looking fellas around the plants.
You didn't tell me about them, Grace.
Wasn't that many of them. It hardly seemed worth the mention.
And she leaves it all behind for reasons unknown. I'm tired of it up there, she says. Are you tired of the paycheck, I says. Who needs me a paycheck, she says. I got me a boyfriend to take me out on Saturdays.
She said that.
Oh, you know I didn't. And besides, I have a job. I started the bank on Monday.
Oh, yeah, the bank. And what's it pay?
Enough.
Enough, always enough. You know what that means, Tom? It'll come close to what it pays up at the Radium plant.
It's office work.
Office work? Well, I guess that means you'll be spending more money on clothes then.
Boy, is she steamed at you?
I don't see what difference it makes so long as I'm working somewhere.
Hey, it makes no difference to me. I just thought you liked it up there.
Sure, I liked it up there. I worked there 4 years.
So, I've been delivering mail for almost 8 years. I plan to keep delivering mail another 20, 30, if I'm lucky. Nothing like steady pay and a good pension to help you sleep at night.
Well, I don't have a pension and I sleep just fine.
I'm sure you do. So tell me, Grace, why did you quit?
Lots of girls are quitting. I mean, work is slow, and besides, since Irene left, it's just not as much fun. And anyways, wouldn't you rather have a girlfriend who worked in a bank?
Not as much as I'd like a wife who don't work anywhere.
Close your eyes. I got a surprise for you.
Yeah, want for me to pull the shade?
Not that kind of surprise. Close your eyes. Now look.
Wallpaper?
For the baby's room.
Baby's room? You won't kiss me and you're talking about babies?
Well, there's gonna be babies eventually, Tommy.
Oh, well, sure, Grace, but you know, most girls, they get married before they plan the nursery.
Oh, we'll play on ahead for once. Pick one.
They're both the same.
No, they're not. This one has big flowers, and this one has little flowers. So pick one.
Is this some kind of test?
No, it's just wallpaper.
It is some kind of test.
Pick one, Tommy.
That one.
Really?
The other one, then.
Which one do you like, though?
They're both the same.
Well, this one is pretty, don't you think?
That one, then.
Well, I want you to like it, too.
If you like it, I like it. Wallpaper is wallpaper.
No, it isn't. You gotta pick something you can stand to look at for 20 years.
Same way you pick women.
Well, okay, keep it up, smarty pants, and you won't never get that kiss.
Okay, that one, hands down. That one.
I like it, too. You know, a nice neutral yellow goes with either a boy or a girl. And until the baby comes, we can use the room for other things.
Yeah? Like what?
Like a painting studio, maybe?
A painting studio, maybe? Didn't you get enough painting at work?
Yeah, not the kind I wanted to. Tommy, I used to paint watercolors back at school, and ever since I went to work, I don't have no time. I mean, what with taking care of the kids and helping Mom. Once we're married, I want some time. You know, just a little time for myself so I can do watercolors or oils, maybe. Maybe portraits in oil. You know, I can paint your picture if you like.
Sure. Paint a big picture of me, and we'll hang it in the outhouse. Then all our friends will come round to use the can just so they can see it.
Oh, the way you talk sometimes.
Grace, if you want to paint pictures, you paint pictures. I ain't gonna stop you.
Yeah, you say that now, Tommy, but once we're married, you'll change your tune.
Sure, I'll be a whistling Dixie.
I think you're funny. Wait till you come home some night all upset. Some Christmas, maybe. When every customer on your routes had 3 times the mail. Oh, and maybe some dog took after you. And some old lady kept you on her stoop telling you all about her grandchildren. And you wouldn't have the heart to say, you can't talk. I know you. So you come home all cranky and late besides. Hungry. Wanting your dinner. And there I am, with my easel set up in the kitchen, a drop cloth on the floor, my paint spread all over the table, and your dinner nowhere in sight. What would you say then?
Better be a picture of me you're painting.
I know what you'd say. Where's my dinner? That's what you'd say. Where's my dinner?
Sure, Grace. But I'd still admire the painting. Just wouldn't want to look on it on an empty stomach is all. So how'd I do? Pick the right wallpaper?
I don't know. Maybe I'll go look at stripes.
Stripes, polka dots, I don't care. Let's just get married. You're plenty old enough. Tell your mom we ain't waiting no more. We'll just run off.
Tommy, we're not running off. We're gonna do this right. A nice church wedding with flowers and music. And then a week at the seashore. You know, just us. And then after that, we get set up in our own place. You'll see. It'll be worth the wait.
Hey, your mouth hurt you?
Yeah. The doctor wants to pull another tooth in the back.
Well, what's a tooth?
Hazel Cuser. Any connection to the others?
Only by virtue of employment.
Except she has a good lawyer.
Well, knows how to write a good letter, that lawyer.
And she no longer works here.
Left 6 weeks ago.
God, this makes 4 now.
3.
4 if you count the Maja girl.
I wouldn't include her.
She worked here, didn't she?
She also worked other places. And what she died from, you couldn't pick up here. At least I don't think you can.
That's not funny, Charlie. Besides, that's just idle talk.
In my experience, there's usually something to the idle talk when it comes to girls like that.
From a large family, wasn't she?
Italians. The conditions they live in. 10, 12 people in 3 rooms. It's a wonder they don't all die of some infection or another.
3 then. And how many dead?
Only Miss Maja, but I haven't heard from her people yet.
Well, it's too late for them anyway. The statute of limitations is 2 years. But Miss Cuser is another story. She's in a position to make some trouble now.
In all the years I've worked here, no one has so much as slipped on the floor. And now all this?
We're talking about 4 girls. Out of how many hundreds we've employed?
600 or 700 over the years.
And some were sick when they got here. One girl you hired was a complete cripple. Couldn't even climb up the stairs. Her father had to carry her up to the studio every morning.
It didn't matter to me how she got up the stairs. She was a fast worker and a very sweet
But she
young
was
girl.
in poor health.
She needed the work.
Arthur, Charlie.
And not just for the money. To have a purpose, Charlie. That's what work does. It gives us a purpose. I don't see any reason why we need to stop hiring girls like that.
When they get sick and try to blame us for it, you might want to reconsider that policy.
Let's just see what Dr. Drinker has to say.
Dr. Drinker?
Some professor at the Harvard School of Industrial Hygiene.
He chairs the department, and he's agreed to take a look at our operations.
Don't you think we're jumping the gun a bit hiring him?
We've had 6 girls quit this week, and Mrs. McNeil tells me that there could be more.
Girls come and go all the time.
It's never been like this, Charlie. These girls are terrified. We have to do something to calm their nerves.
Letting Drinker examine them. That sounds to me like a recipe for mass hysteria.
We'll tell them it's a routine physical. Edward?
Companies give physicals all the time.
Then Drinker will start next month.
In the meantime, I recommend we make an offer to Miss Cuser.
Settle?
There's no proof her problems are connected to us.
If she sues, believe me, you won't like the publicity it brings, and neither will your investors.
You think this will affect the stock offering?
Don't you?
Wonderful. Then we'll open at 30 and close at 10.
Or not open at all.
But if we give this girl something, that will keep her quiet?
It would be a condition of the settlement.
Maybe we better do it.
Suppose this lawyer has a racket going. He finds sick girls and talks them into making suits. Then we reward him for his larceny?
Unless Miss Cuser genuinely believes she got sick here.
It could be like Charlie said. She comes from a large immigrant family, not well educated, not a lot of resources.
A few $100s would make a big difference to a girl like that.
Certainly. Pay a few doctor's bills, buy some medicine. From the sounds of the letter, it doesn't sound like the girl has long to live anyway.
So it would be a gesture of decency then.
Exactly.
How much should we offer?
March 24th, 1924. Jacques Youngwood here for the Newark Ledger.
Nancy Jane Harlan for the New York Graphic. The Graphic's only girl reporter.
Could radium water pose a cure for crippling arthritis? Scientific studies suggest a connection.
Dateline, Orange, New Jersey. Radium water pump. Offer miracle cure for crippling arthritis.
Some patients reported a significant abatement in their symptoms.
Mrs. Jeremy Michaels of the Bronx tells how radium water transformed her life.
My pain got so bad, I could hardly bend over.
While others reported only mild relief.
This poor, brave woman could not even bend down to kiss her little ones goodnight.
And I got 3. Let me tell you, they are a handful.
Dr. Harriet Middleton, the chief medical examiner in Essex County, commented on the study.
Preliminary at best.
Your recommendations, Dr. Martland?
I advise further study.
Then Mrs. Michaels tried Radathor.
They said it would help my rheumatism, so I drank a bottle a day for a month. Wasn't cheap, but I was desperate.
That test sample is questionably small.
Well, first off, I felt like I'd been hit by a bolt of lightning. It was just that powerful. Now I drink a bottle a week just to maintain my health. I hang laundry and scrub the kitchen floor, same way I always done.
Dr. William J.A. Bailey, inventor of Radathor, reports strong demand for his product.
Dr. William Bailey of Orange announces that sales for Radathor exceed 100,000 cases worldwide.
Radioactivity is one of the most remarkable agents in medical science. I drink Radathor myself, and I can vouch for its power.
A bottle a day.
At $1 a bottle?
Worth every penny.
Yes, indeed. I myself was the picture of lethargy before I discovered the amazing, vitalizing qualities of radium water. Now look at me. I'm nearly 50 years old but have the energy of a man in his 30s.
You rather look like a man in his 30s.
Well, thanks.
A testament to the tonic's potency?
Or to the seller's creativity.
Radathor. It is perpetual sunshine.
And a perpetual money machine for its inventor.
Is there nothing science can't do?
Maybe we should have made an appointment.
Don't need no appointment.
But it's a busy place, Catherine. If you don't have an appointment, maybe you should make one.
I shouldn't need no appointment for this.
I'm sorry, I didn't find anything under shop.
No, it's under Rudolph.
Rudolph.
The girl I'm asking about, Irene Rudolph.
Did you file the complaint?
No. The dentist did.
The dentist?
Dr. Neff, Irene's dentist. He said she made a Fossey John. He was going to complain to the health department about it. But when I asked him, he said he hadn't heard nothing. It's been more than 6 months now.
Fossey jaw, you say?
Yes!
Catherine, it could have been like your doctor said, all right, a blood infection.
Yeah? But what gave it to her? That's the thing. What was it from?
From dirt. You get infections from dirt.
From dirt. Her face puffed up like a pumpkin. Her jaw rotted so bad she couldn't eat nothing. You think you get something like that from a little dirt? You get it from phosphorus. They're telling everybody it's radium that paint, but it's really phosphorus that makes it glow.
Oh, honestly, Catherine, you can't really believe that.
You saw her, Grace.
Catherine, if what you say is true, they'd never let you work there in the first place.
Sure, they'd have shut the place down.
Shut it down? Who? Who's gonna shut it down?
I don't know, the county?
Honestly, Grace, you are such a ninny.
Hey!
How are they gonna shut it down if they don't know about everything of that?
Now come on now!
It's all right, Tommy.
She's got no business talking to you that way.
She's just upset.
Upset? She's gone round the bend. She probably thinks they're dumping arsenic in the drinking water. Next, they'll be kidnapping babies, using them to stoke the furnace.
Go ahead and laugh. You won't be laughing so hard when it's you, coming in here 6 months from now asking after Grace.
For crying out loud.
Catherine, it's just a toothache.
Yeah? That's how it started for Irene, just a toothache. You wait. Grace, you wait. You'll wake up one morning. Your gums hurting so bad you won't be able to open your mouth. So weak and sick, you won't be able to stand up.
Stop it,
The
Catherine.
pain's so bad, you won't be able to sleep. And your face so swollen, you won't be able to stand this out of yourself.
I said stop! Grace is fine. Right, Gracie?
Irene Rudolph?
That's it?
She worked at the Radium plant?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing.
Huh?
The company is in full compliance with the health and labor regulations. They ordered an analysis of the paint.
Let me see that.
Miss, really?
Who's Miss Young?
That's the health officer, Miss.
Paint is a harmless compound of radium and zinc.
As I was saying,
The analysis shows there's no phosphorus in the paint. There's no phosphorus anywhere in the plant.
There. You see, Catherine?
Miss Young toured the plant herself. She found nothing amiss. I'm sorry.
Well, I guess we can get some lunch then.
I want to file another complaint.
They already did an investigation.
I want to file another complaint, Catherine. These folks, they're awful busy here.
I want to file another complaint.
I just don't see what good this is going to do. To make such a fuss this way.
Grace! 3 surgeries, and they wanted to cut her again. She finally said no, she knew. What was left of her jaw hurted so bad. The smell was terrible. Grace, the worst part of it is, I couldn't look at her. Irene was so afraid of being alone, but I left her alone. When she died, it was in the middle of the night. And nobody was with her.
Excuse me. Ma'am?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'd like to file another complaint. My friend would like to file another complaint.
Another complaint? Is the girl still sick?
No, she died.
Wait right here.
Harriet? Harriet, you will come down from that tree at once.
I'm waiting for Papa.
Fine. When he gets home, I can send him up after you.
There he is, Papa, Papa!
Harriet!
Harriet, come here.
Papa, I could see clear to the church.
Could you now? Could you see your grandfather?
No, but I could see the schoolhouse.
Do you think this is funny?
What? She's enjoying herself.
Harriet.
Tell you what, if she has no one to yell to, then she won't yell at all.
They can hear her all over the neighborhood.
Can they? She's 9 years old, Diane.
I'm trying to raise a daughter, not a son.
Well, luckily time is on your side. In a year or so, she won't be interested in climbing trees anymore. She'll be more interested in talking to boys.
That's supposed to scare me?
But when that day comes, you'll be frantic, because she won't want to climb trees anymore.
What's this?
Something to give you vitality.
You think I need vitality?
That's what it says in the bottle.
Is it pure?
We're their supplier. Would you like to try some?
If it'll give me vitality, how could I refuse? Your father came by to see me today.
Another hard luck case, then.
4 kids at home, all under the age of 6.
Let me guess. Wife in the hospital with cancer?
Yes.
And the father's been laid off from the brickyard.
Yes.
Through no fault of his own?
How did you know?
Dad came by to see me today. It's never enough with him to have ordinary ambitions. You always have to have a mission in life.
And you do.
I have a business plan.
Artie, you cannot tell me you wouldn't help this man if you could.
If I could, but I can't give him a job that doesn't exist.
What about Mr. Lehman?
Dan, in the laboratory?
Maybe he could use some help.
No. Dan needs trained technicians, not some bricklayer. Why don't you talk to Mrs. Middleton? Don't you women have a social club for things like that?
You mean the Women's Club Civics Committee?
Right.
Okay. Yes, the club takes an interest in such cases, but we are not an employment service either. Which is why I thought, maybe you could help him.
You do love being married to the company president.
Has its advantages.
Do you ever think of trading it in?
Do you?
I got my shoes shined this morning. As I sat and I watched the boy work, I thought this is quite an enterprise. Work walks in, the work walks out. There's no stock prices, no inventory, no health inspectors.
You'll trade it all in for your own shoe shine stand?
Fewer headaches that way.
So you're in one of those moods again. What's it this time? Can't be the market. That went up today.
So now you're reading the financial pages.
I have to entertain myself somehow. So, what happened today? You're being very strange.
Look, I'm sorry.
Hey, you can tell me, you know.
It's nothing to tell, really. This is going to be our best year ever.
So it's the prospect of success you find so disheartening.
I'll go get my checkbook.
What for?
For your bricklayer.
Artie, he needs a job, not charity. What is it your father always says? A working man needs to work.
It wears on his soul not to work. Well, if it's a matter of his soul, then that's different. I'll go talk to Dan.
Artie?
But I make no promises, Diane.
No promises.
To your health.
So how long you had this drainage?
A week or two. It hurts something awful, Dr. Neff.
Anything else bothering you?
Back hurts some too.
You're back now? You seen your regular doctor?
He says it's nerves.
Nerves?
About my wedding and all?
This ain't no case of nerves. Hope you told him that.
What do you think?
Think you better schedule that surgery.
Couldn't we put it off just a little? I mean, till after my wedding.
You don't get that surgery, you won't have no wedding.
Huh?
Miss Fryer, I want you to listen to me. Your jawbone, it's decaying. That's the black pus oozing out of your gums. It's the bone itself.
That's impossible.
To Mr. Arthur Reeder, U.S. Radium Corporation, from Cecil Drinker, Harvard University. Enclosed is our report.
Finally.
We believe the trouble in your plant is due to the radium.
Radium?
It can't be all that.
No, this can't be.
Put off the surgery and you'll develop a septic condition. It could be fatal.
The blood changes in your employees can be explained on no other grounds.
Everything I've got I saved for my wedding.
Photographic films carried by employees show heavy fogging.
Well, I got a suggestion for you.
And we suspect high levels of gamma radiation throughout the plant.
Go to the radium plant and explain your situation.
Go to the company?
We realize no proof can be offered at present.
Once they see what kind of shape you're in.
No, this is impossible.
They gotta feel obligated to help you out.
But in view of the material in the literature,
it's a mistake.
And the facts disclosed by our investigation,
I don't see how they could refuse.
We recommend immediate and drastic remedial action.
Look, if you want, I'll write to them for you. They can work through me. Just pay my bills directly.
You really think they do that?
They got a moral obligation, don't you think?
Charlie!
I guess so.
We'll do it right now. I'll get some paper.
No. He has to be wrong. That's all. He's wrong. Charlie. He has to be wrong.
He must have overlooked something.
If we're suffering from a new ailment caused by the radium, it should occur generally throughout the plant.
One would expect.
There are several hundred milligrams in solution at all times, in the big vats. Several hundred in crystallizing, several hundred in the ore.
The entire backyard is filled with tailings.
Radium is present in good amounts all over the property.
If it's the radium, then the incidence of illness should be highest in the laboratory.
And no one there is sick.
Then perhaps it's some combination of the radium and the zinc.
Or something peculiar to our plant alone.
Some sort of bacteria, perhaps, in the brushes.
No. It can't be the radium. There are dozens of application plants all across the country, and none of them have ever reported anything like this.
The Department of Labor wants to see this report.
Yes, I'm aware.
What do we do? This tears us to pieces. How do we send this to them?
They want to see the report. We'll send them this.
1 page?
It's the most important page, Charlie.
Drinker will never stand for this.
Drinker works for us. This is a proprietary report. What we do with it is our business.
But the Department of Labor,
With
Arthur,
just time,
they could tear us
Charlie.
apart for this.
Scientists, government men, none of them have any idea what it takes to run a business. Von Zishocky thought that advertising was a dirty word. He laughed at the very idea of promotion. I can't tell you how many times I walked into that man's office and he turned a deaf ear to everything that I told him. Charlie, look at us. We are the world's single largest supplier of radium. The largest in the world. Do you know what it took for us to get here? If you think I'm going to stand idly by and let them drag our good name through the mud, trust me, Charlie, I won't.
Good to see you, Miss Fryer. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Dr. Neff.
Oh, Miss Fryer, by the way, before you go, in addition to your surgery, I'd recommend a little more flossing, too.
Sure. Dr. Flynn, it's awful nice of you to come all this way.
Not at all, my dear. Not at all.
I told the surgeon you was coming over, so he sent the results of my blood work.
Oh, excellent.
And so?
I must say, Miss Fryer, your blood looks better than mine.
It does?
That's what happens to an old man who smokes. Now, tell me what else is troubling you.
My feet and my back, mostly. I had to wear a brace for a while.
So I see. And this started before you left the company or after?
After I left. You know, Dr. Neff says this all has to do with the radium plant. I know another girl from the plant who died from it. Irene Rudolph?
Oh, yes. Terrible thing. Vincent's angina.
What's that?
That's an ulcerated condition of the mouth, my dear.
From the radium?
Oh, no. An unfortunate and rare result of poor dental care. So let this be a lesson to you. Always brush your teeth.
Doctor, there were other articles about this. About girls getting sick. One girl I worked with for a while, she's in the hospital in New York, and the doctors don't know what to do. I mean, they've never seen anything
Miss
like
Fryer, don't tell me you pay any attention to those papers. Those stories are not scientific.
But
reporters are not scientific. They do not follow scientific methods. Reporters like to sell, not to educate. The scientist is not concerned with what sells. He is concerned with the truth. He undertakes years of painstaking study to arrive at an understanding of natural processes that most people can never presume to comprehend. You would do well to listen to science and ignore what is printed in those newspapers, because I can assure you right now, what you have has nothing to do with radium.
It doesn't?
Not in the least.
Then what is ailing me?
Poor diet, Miss Fryer, poor diet.
But Dr. Neff said...
Dr. Neff is a dentist, not a physician. What you have is a vitamin deficiency. You must eat more fresh fruit.
Hard to do in the winter.
And raw meats as well. Raw calf's liver particularly. Cook it if you must, but eat it twice a week at a minimum. Oh, no. Miss Fryer, I'm a scientist and I take a purely scientific interest in the situation. By allowing me to examine you, you are helping me further my own studies. I sincerely thank you. Call me anytime, day or night.
All right. Dr. Flynn, thanks.
Happy to be of service, my dear.
Dr. Frederick Flynn, PhD Physiology, Columbia University. PhD? That's not a real doctor!
My findings, Mr. Reader?
He's seen half a dozen girls used to work at the plant. He's working for the company.
An objective evaluation, I trust?
The source of my funding has no bearing on my research.
And I let that fella examine me!
I never examined her, per se. It was not a medical examination.
Nevertheless, you were able to offer her some useful advice, correct?
I did my best for her.
Every girl he sees is the same thing. Nothing wrong with you.
Your blood is as good as mine, he says.
And how are the rest of your findings coming along?
The animal studies I conducted reveal no adverse effects from radium. The problem, as you presumed, is one of personal hygiene only.
I just can't believe somebody would do something like that. I mean, straight out lie to you like that.
Nothing surprises me.
It is just like you said, Catherine. Those people, they will say anything. They'll do anything.
Except the right thing.
Well, we're not going to let them. Catherine, we're going to make sure somebody hears about this.
Well, I'm most grateful, Dr. Flynn, but I'm particularly grateful to hear that the young lady you examined is doing so much better.
I didn't examine her, no. I merely consulted with her.
It's all the same. She's doing much better, isn't that so?
From what I could see, Mr. Reader, she appears to be on the road to recovery.
Excellent.
Here's my statement of fees and expenses.
Mr. Lee will draw you a check. This way.
And so I leave you all now with this one thought. Ladies, we do not have to accept injustice. We can use our powers as consumers to influence the practices of those who would wish to profit from our patronage. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Wiley, and thank you to the New Jersey's Consumers League for another job well done. Now, I do believe that concludes our evening, and we do not have time for questions. However, we do wish you will join us for some light refreshments.
You want anything?
My throat's a little dry. Excuse me?
You're not a member of the Women's Club?
Oh, no, ma'am. I'm here.
Are you the guest of a member?
No, ma'am. But Miss Wiley, she's.
Then I'm sure Miss Wiley would be happy to see you during her regular business hours.
Okay, I'm not leaving until I see Miss Wiley.
It's all right. Miss Middleton, it's fine.
No pictures, thank you.
You must be Miss Fryer.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Young at the health department told me I should come see you. I know I should have stopped by your office, but I missed a lot of work lately. and I didn't want to miss more.
No need to apologize. I had been meaning to call on you myself.
Well, Catherine and we wrote to the company about our troubles, but they said they couldn't do nothing. So we talked to a bunch of lawyers, but they said it had been so long since we left the radium plant. Something about the law won't allow it.
The statute of limitations?
Yes, and one lawyer, he said he'd do the job, only he wants $1,000 up front, and I've already spent everything that I was saving for my wedding on dentists and doctors and hospitals, and I still don't know what's wrong. Exactly. And then there's Tom. Tom's my fella. He says he don't care. And he wants to get married anyhow, but I just wonder what good I'm gonna do him like this. Miss Wiley, if I could just get some compensation, I could settle my debts, and then I wouldn't feel like I was saddling Tom with this burden. And I know, I'm sorry to rattle on at you at these things, but I'm tired of being pushed around.
I don't blame you.
So will you help us?
Tell me, Miss Fryer, just how far are you willing to go with this?
Ma'am?
Suppose I do find a lawyer willing to take your case. Someone willing to take it on a contingency. You wouldn't have to pay unless you won. Would you be willing to sue?
Well, I want my compensation.
Of course you do. Now, suppose the company says, here's some money for you, Miss Fryer. Only you were to tell no one what we've agreed to. You were to say nothing about how you got sick.
Keep it secret, you mean?
Yes.
Well, that don't seem right.
It isn't right. But that's what they'll do. They will try to buy your silence. Is it for sale, Miss Fryer?
No. No, ma'am. It isn't.
Good.
So can you help us?
I think I can help you, if you're willing to take some chances.
Chances?
Miss Fryer, if you would be willing to set aside your own need, just for a moment, we could put a stop to this company. We could stop them dead in their tracks.
What do I have to do?
We start by putting you on page 1.
Page 1? You wanted to talk to the newspaper.
Not just one newspaper. Many, many newspapers.
Is that really necessary? I mean, all we want is for Grace to get a compensation.
Tommy, let her finish.
I understand your concern. But this company has already shown that it is willing to go to extremes to protect itself. No, I'm afraid the only way we'll get to them is to hit them where it matters most. Their public image. When every newspaper in America is telling your story, how you were sorely treated, how you suffered, how the company denied all responsibility. Believe me, Miss Fryer, when that happens, Arthur Reeder will come to the table with his hat in his hands.
Oh, all right, Miss Wiley.
I know it can be a little frightening.
Oh, don't worry. Right now I'm more angry than scared.
Good. You hang on to that anger, Miss Fryer. You're gonna need it. Only be sure no one else sees it.
Ma'am?
Public sympathy. That's our strongest weapon. And the public doesn't have much sympathy for an angry woman.
December 4th, 1927. Jack Youngwood here for the Newark Ledger.
Nancy Jane Holland for the graphic.
On the strange case of the Radium Girls,
who claim they were poisoned at the hands of their employer,
and now seek their day in court.
$250,000. That's the price tag on their suffering.
$250,000. Ask me, it's all a sham.
What do you mean? Those girls were very sick.
Sick of working, sure.
Doctors say the Radium Girls have only 1 year left to live.
Only 1 year to live and 250 grand to spend. What would you do with that kind of money?
What would you do to ease your last suffering days on Earth? What would you do with $250,000?
I buy Orchids like Irene Castles. I give it all to charity. Then I travel around the world, first class, with all my friends.
I'd play the stock market. I'd buy my wife a fur coat and I'm in the size of New Hampshire.
I'd use it to pay my medical bills. And pay off the second mortgage on our house. The one my father took out to pay for my last operation.
Pretty Grace Fryer sits at home,
Suffering bravely through this entire ordeal.
Juggling valiantly to keep up her flagging spirits.
And for the sake of her family and her friends.
It hurts to smile. But I try to smile. I know if I don't smile, I'll go crazy.
Tell us, Miss Fryer, how does it feel knowing you have such little time left?
I try not to think about it.
But it must get to you.
Knowing what you've been through. And the company's getting fat off your labor.
And all they have to say about it is...
No comment. Don't you just want to punch somebody?
No, that won't do no good. I'd rather just think about how it's gonna be. When justice prevails. Then I can do something nice for the folks. You know, maybe send them on a trip. They never had no honeymoon.
What a fine example of womanhood. We can only aspire to bear our cross in life as nobly as this young girl.
Mr. Barry, I must object to these histrionics.
I had nothing to do with that, Mr. Markley.
I've been in this game a long time, Mr. Barry, and when I see a story like this move over the wires, I am not so naive as to think a plaintiff's attorney has nothing to do with it.
What's your proposal, Mr. Markley?
$1,500 for each girl.
$1,500?
That's not even a year's wages.
Well, we think it's very generous, considering your case won't survive the statute of limitations.
This is a case in equity, sir. The Chancery Court will come to a different conclusion.
The Chancery Court can't rewrite the law, and the law is clear. 2 years from the date of injury, your clients are out of time.
2 years from the date the cause of injury is discovered.
Very creative, Mr. Barry, very clever. I have to applaud your imagination. But you've a long way to go before you convince the judge.
And in the meantime, Mr. Markley, the press will continue to take a great interest in this story and in the company's complete indifference to its workers.
I'm sure that will prove to be very good press for the Consumers League. And you accuse us of exploiting these girls.
You're the one hiding behind the statute of limitations.
Hiding? Miss Wiley?
You know very well the law never anticipated a situation like this. These girls were dying years before anyone knew the cause.
Before anyone knew the cause. Does that include the U.S. Radium Corporation, Miss Wiley? When, or should I say if, this case goes to trial, I only hope that's your opening argument, Mr. Barry. You will have made our defense. See you in court.
The arrogance of that man, I just...
Tell me again the purpose of these articles, Miss Wiley.
Public sympathy. Mr. Barry, that's the engine of reform.
You're antagonizing the company.
Then the strategy is working.
And what about the girls?
How does it help them to read in a dozen different newspapers that they have so little time left to live?
Mr. Barry, surely you can see. The U.S. Radium Corporation cares nothing about the girls that it has poisoned. The average housewife in Orange cares very deeply, and so do millions of other women across the country. These women shop. They buy watches. Markley can be as smug as he likes, but the Consumers League campaign will lead to only one outcome, and he knows it. That is why he was here today.
I only hope you're right, Miss Wiley.
Public sympathy, Mr. Barry. Wait and see.
Dear Miss Shaw, I read of your sad story in the Boston Globe and am so sorry for your plight. It seems that in this time of rapid advancement, the well-being of the average worker is simply overlooked. I want to share with you girls the key to my own good health at the age of 92. It is called Christian Science.
Dear Miss Fryer, I read of your woeful situation in the Atlanta Constitution, and I am prepared to offer you a solution. Venacine! A wonder tonic made from all natural ingredients. Venacine will restore your health and vitality. We are prepared to offer you girls a lifetime supply of Venacine in exchange for the exclusive access to use your photos in our advertisements.
Dear girl, I read about you in the Billings Gazette. I run 100 head of cattle up here and do very well by myself. I have always longed for a companion and am well equipped to offer you a comfortable home in your final hours. A girl like you has suffered so much. Don't you think you deserve a few fleeting hours of happiness? Sincerely, your admirer, Leonard F. Watkins. P.S. Enclosed is my picture.
Would you look at this, Catherine? This man actually sent his picture. You all right, Catherine?
Lead in again.
Shall I get the nurse?
I did this before. It'll stop.
Maybe we should go.
No. Don't go.
Don't you need to sleep?
Who can sleep? I never sleep.
Well, you'll sleep tomorrow.
Yeah. Might not wake up.
Of course you'll wake up.
Not if it don't go so well. Sometimes you don't come out of it too good. My mother's cousin, she went in for her appendix and she didn't come home again.
Well, you just can't think that way. That's all. Look at this mail, Catherine. Miss Wiley said folks would be on our side, and she sure was right. I mean, here's one from California.
What if we don't win?
Of course we'll win.
What if we don't? My father will lose his house, we'll be on the street. You'll be on the street too. Your father must owe thousands, and you and Tom, you won't ever get married. How can you stand it, Grace?
Catherine, please.
How can Tom stand it? Don't you ever wonder, Grace? I don't ever hear him complain.
Catherine, as soon as the judge hears our testimony, he is going to rule for us. All they gotta do is take one look at us. It'll be over in a day.
You think so?
Sure. When they see what kind of shape we're in, we'd be pretty hard to ignore, don't you think?
That'll be something then, won't it? To see the look on Mr. Reader's face when we make it to the stand.
Now, you want to read some more letters?
They didn't have chocolate, so I got vanilla.
Took you long enough.
Hey, don't get on me. I had 6 people stop me on the way over here. All of them reporters, and all of them asking after you.
Waiting for me to die.
No one is waiting for you to die.
It's true. One of them called my mother, asking if I had died. When she said no, he sounded disappointed.
Try to eat a little of this. It'll make you feel better.
Evening, girls. How about a picture?
For the love of Mike, what are you doing?
We need some pictures for the graphics exclusive on the girls.
Exclusive? What are you talking about?
$5,000. That's what. What do you say, Grace? That sound good to you? Think you could use $5,000?
I don't understand.
Perhaps you're familiar with Bernard McFadden.
Who? That faith healer?
Herbalist, Mr. Kreider. Herbalist. Bernard McFadden's patented herbal therapy is just the thing to get these girls back on their feet. And the graphic will pay for it. All we ask is the exclusive rights to their story from here on out. See for yourself.
You want to pay us to go see Bernard McFadden?
Easy money, huh?
Let me see.
They're serious, Grace.
The graphic always does business on the up and up.
I don't know.
Grace, how much does your father owe on the house?
I don't know exactly.
And that last hospital bill, that's a couple hundred at least.
At least?
Maybe we should think about this.
And all we have to do is talk to this herbalist fella?
Of course, we'll have to get our money's worth. A regular series of features following the course of the treatment. Your illness, recovery, or otherwise, depending on how it goes.
And then you print whatever you want.
Maybe we add color. Everybody adds color.
Hey, it don't sound so bad.
Maybe we should talk to Miss Wiley about it.
Miss Wiley? What's it to her? You're the ones with bills to pay.
Wouldn't be right to do something like this without talking to Miss Wiley.
You're a big girl, Grace. Can't you make your own decisions?
Of course I can make my own decisions.
You'd take it if it came from the company.
The company owes us a lot more than that.
If you ever see it.
Grace. Maybe we should do it.
It just don't seem right.
You're gonna talk to them reporters anyhow. Why not get something out of it?
Here's right, you know. Why give your story away when people are crazy to read it? Believe me, you girls could cash in big. That day we ran the feature on you, big! Sold out of every copy at every newsstand. Everyone can sympathize with the plight of some poor, sick girl facing certain death with no hope of fulfillment in motherhood.
I'd like you to go now. My friend is tired. She needs her rest.
Grace, at least think about it.
Sure. Think it over. I understand you're worried about what people will say, but hey, you got to look out for your own interests here. There's no reason you shouldn't get something out of all this. Everyone is out to get what they can, for sure. Why should you sit back and keep your nose clean when everyone else is up to their elbows in it? Ta-ta!
Gentlemen, I have treated a number of the girls who claimed they got sick here. One of them, the girl's jaw had rotted so bad I removed it just by lifting the bone out of her mouth, as you can see.
That's all right, Dr. Neff. You can put that away.
Maybe you'd like to take a look at the x-ray. This was an expensive case to treat, and I never did get no compensation. The girl died. Her family never paid.
Look, I sympathize, Dr. Neff, but what does this have to do with us?
Here it is straight. There's going to be a lot more girls coming out saying they got sick here, so maybe we can do business. I scratch your back, you scratch mine, that sort of thing.
I'm not exactly following here.
Say you was to give me a list of the girls who worked here. I'd see to it there weren't no more lawsuits.
You think you could cure them?
No, I couldn't cure them, no. I'm saying I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
How so, Dr. Neff?
I'd examine them for radium necrosis. Then I would come up with a favorable diagnosis for you. Pyorrhea, say something else. Other cases will just die a natural death anyway, and the rest we can put off until the statute of limitations kicks in and it's too late to sue.
You'll persuade them they haven't got a case against the company.
Exactly. And if it did come to court, I could testify it was some other problem. And it'd be strong testimony coming from the dentist who treated them.
And what makes you so sure that they'll come to see you?
They'll come to me quick if I don't charge them nothing.
Because we'd be paying you.
Exactly. We got an understanding, Mr. Reader?
What exactly are you asking for, Dr. Neff?
I need $10,000 for my trouble so far, for every girl I'd agree to see from here on out. $2 for every visit, plus expenses for the x-rays. I'm suggesting a gentleman's agreement here. Better off if it's not in writing.
No.
All right, we'll put it in writing.
No. What you're proposing is immoral, and will have nothing to do with it.
Immoral, you say? Well, you're a fine one to be talking about morals.
Mr. Lee.
When you got your own hired guns, ready to testify.
Those are expert witnesses.
Expert witnesses? Paid lackeys is more like it, and none of them's got the dirt I got. If you're smart, you'll play ball with me. Believe me, there's plenty of other folk interested in the information.
You're threatening me.
Just a business proposition, Mr. Reader. I'm looking after my interests, same way you look after yours.
Mr. Lee, see Dr. Neff to the door.
All right. You don't want to play ball, fine. But believe me, when all this shakes out, it won't be me holding the short end of the stick.
Gentlemen, I want you all to make statements on what you witnessed here today. We'll send it to the State Dental Society, and then Dr. Neff will see who's playing ball and who isn't.
An excellent idea.
I don't know. Perhaps we shouldn't be so quick to dismiss Neff's proposal.
What? What do you mean?
We're in a very bad situation here, Mr. Reader.
That's true. Mr. Lee says we're having trouble getting girls to work.
Yes, and we've lost some contracts because of it.
And it's going to get worse.
Those papers are full of stories about those girls.
Making them out to be saints.
And what defense can we put out?
Except to say we'll try our case in court.
And in the court of public opinion, we've already lost.
Perhaps we should reconsider. It certainly wouldn't hurt to have testimony from the dentist that treated those girls.
Neff could be very useful to us. We should retain him.
Retain him as what? An extortionist?
As an expert.
Like Dr. Flynn.
No. Dr. Flynn is a highly respected professor at Columbia University. Neff is just some neighborhood dentist.
But Dr. Flynn treated some of those girls, didn't he?
He didn't treat them. He consulted with them.
He dispensed medical advice, Arthur.
It wasn't medical advice. It was a scientific opinion, an expert's opinion.
How about this? We retain Neff, but we don't put him on the stand, just so we keep him from testifying for the woman.
That's the most important thing.
Yes, I agree. That's the most important thing.
And would you agree to something like that, Mr. Reader?
Mr. Reader?
Mr. Reader?
Edward! We can't possibly do this! We can't get into bed with a man like Neff!
Arthur's right. We can't do business with Neff.
He could hurt us. We have to take steps.
But Neff has already given us everything we need. New evidence, gentlemen. This is grounds for postponement.
3 months. 3 months to study an x-ray. It's outrageous. Oh, and the girls. Did you see the girls? Their eyes were like saucers, looking at me, terrified.
Mr. Barry,
how are
I
they going
really
to hold out for 3 more months? Catherine Schaub could barely make it into the courtroom today, and Grace, she was trying so hard not to cry. And of course, I had all the answers. Go home, girls. Get some rest. That's the best I could do. Get some rest.
You're doing wonderfully, Mr. Barry. It's a difficult case
I don't
to work with.
understand people like Markley and Reader. How can they play this kind of game with those poor girls sitting right there?
Maybe this will help explain. I received a letter from
You'd think
Catherine.
the company would be eager to take care of this with the kind of publicity this has gotten them. But Markley seems to enjoy the sport of it. What he can get away with. It's cold.
Mr. Barry!
What's this?
It's from Catherine Drinker. Mrs. Cecil Drinker of Harvard. She's an industrial hygienist also. She worked with Dr. Drinker on the study of the radium plant. It was a joint effort, actually.
That's very interesting, Miss Wiley, but we've already seen that document. There's nothing in it to help us.
You've only seen part of it. Mr. Barry, please. This is the complete report. I received it this morning. Mrs. Drinker has been following our case very closely in the papers, and she was particularly disturbed to read the last article in the Ledger. The one where Mr. Lee says her study clears the company?
He doctored the report. Reader doctored the report.
Apparently, he pulled out one page listing the blood conditions of a dozen employees and passed it off as the whole thing. Doesn't look so bad by itself, does it? But in context, it's a somewhat different picture.
We can use this.
Yes, that should impress the judge.
The judge? Miss Wiley, I'm not going to wait 3 months to make use of this. I want you to call that contact you have at New York World. If Reader won't let us present our evidence in the courtroom, he can read about it in the newspaper.
January 12th, 1928. Jack Youngwood here for the Newark Ledger.
Nancy Jane Harlan for the Graphic.
Radium girls go to court today.
Radium girls knock at the doors of justice. Will they be heard?
These poor, injured girls face pain,
Disfigurement.
ruin.
And death. And as the clock ticks away at the precious moments,
A hearing begins in the Chancery Court,
where the U.S. Radium Corporation demands a postponement,
while plaintiff's attorney Raymond Berry makes a shocking disclosure,
showing that the U.S. Radium Corporation lied to the Department of Labor,
showing that it distorted the results of a Harvard study,
concealing the ill effects of its product.
Read all about it in the Ledger.
Read it in the Graphic. We care because you care.
Very bad.
You didn't read it.
I make an effort not to these days.
If only other people would do the same. Mrs. Mitchell from across the street, she walked right past me this morning, didn't say a word to me. I know she saw me. And the greengrocer and the ladies at the market, the way they all look at each other. And Mrs. Middleton and the ladies at the club, the glances, the whispers.
Why don't you put that away? Read the journal. I saw it here the other day.
At the club today, someone actually had the nerve to say to me, "Is it true?" "Is it true?" she said. "Did your husband poison those women?" I said, "Mrs. Cowles, if you think it is true, why would you speak to me at all? I certainly wouldn't associate with a woman whose husband did such things."
Then why go there then? That's the way people are.
I've been a member for years.
What do you want me to say, Diane? I knew we were poisoning people, but we didn't stop because we were making too much goddamn money. Is that what you want me
I
to say?
certainly don't want you to say such a thing.
Even if it were true. Or especially if it were true.
Is it true?
Is that what you think?
What do you want me to think?
For God's sakes, Diane. Don't you see? It's Von Sashaki. He's the one behind all of this. He's feeding information to the Consumers League so they can railroad
Why
us.
would the Consumers
Bunch of
League?
radical women, do-gooders. Half of them are Reds, probably socialists. Same thing with that stupid club you belong to.
What?
It's just you women think you can go out and solve the world's problems while your husbands go out and make a living.
I can't. I'm sorry.
You're going to quit that club.
Quit the club?
And stop talking to that idiot Mrs. Middleton.
You're not
None
making.
of
You're not
those
making
women
any
know
sense.
anything. She doesn't know anything. You don't know anything.
Did you lie to the Department of Labor?
What?
Did you lie?
I didn't lie. I just didn't agree with Drinker's results.
Arthur.
Diane, I have a fiduciary duty to this company.
I can't listen to this.
I have articles, documents, people with tumors the size of baseballs. Mild radium therapy, the tumors disappear, Diane.
I'm tired and I'm going upstairs.
We save lives, Diane. We make lives better. You can't really think I would set out to poison all of those people.
No.
You really think I would ever do anything to hurt you? hurt Harriet?
Certainly not.
Then
13 girls have died.
people die every day, Diane. The newspapers are full of death notices. Young, old. Children younger than Harriet die every day, Diane.
But they worked for you.
They also worked other places, Diane. Look, I have a report from Dr. Flynn, a highly respected professor at Columbia University, who says there is no correlation between our plant and these illnesses. Would you like to see the report?
Then what could the cause be?
I don't know, Diane. I truly don't know. No one knows. We've done everything we can to find out. You say you believe me. If you don't believe me, then there's no point to anything.
Arthur.
Do you remember the day I told my father I wasn't going into the ministry? What you said to me that day?
You can do as much good in a boardroom as you can in a church.
You remember?
You think I could forget?
I was such a scared little kid. And he was an icon. If it weren't for you, I don't think I could have stood up to him.
I'm sure you would have. I know you would have.
Ever since then, he's been looking for reasons to say that my soul is lost. You don't think my soul is lost, do you, Diane?
You're a good man, Artie.
We save lives.
You save lives.
You know everything I've done. It's always been for you. You know that, right?
I know.
Arthur!
Mr. Lee?
Charlie, what in God's name?
I just got off the telephone with someone from the ledger.
And this couldn't wait until morning?
I'm sorry. Good evening.
Mr. Lee?
It's Dr. Lehman.
Dan?
He's dead, Arthur.
What?
He died this morning.
No, Charlie, that's impossible. I just saw him the other day.
Yeah, they were just here for
Martlin's
cards.
already done the autopsy. She says it was a severe anemia.
They're blaming the radium.
And the ledger's gonna run on page 1. Now, I've told the reporter we'd issue a statement at 8 o'clock.
When are the services?
What?
The services! When are the services?
I don't know.
We'll send flowers. Diane?
Of course. I'll go call Louise.
That's right. Go call Louise.
We need to go see her.
I
right?
wouldn't do that.
Why ever not?
She's planning to sue.
Louise?
The reporter from the ledger told me. She's filing a wrongful death action. Now, I've worked up a statement for the paper. Company chemist for 8 years, always in poor health, recently in decline.
But Dan was never sickly. He was always at the golf course or sailing and working in the garden. They had a beautiful garden.
Let's just take care of this in the morning, Charlie.
Of course. Sorry to bring you the bad news, Mrs. Reeder. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Lee.
Good night, Arthur.
Charlie can be a bit excessive at times. We have to say something. I don't know what, but we have to say something. The stockholders expect it.
You needn't explain it.
Sometimes it's necessary.
It's all right. You needn't explain it. We're going to throw this away now.
There's half a case under the sink.
And we'll get rid of that too. There'll be no more of it in the house.
I'll do it. Diane? I'm in too far to quit.
I really didn't expect you to.
February 21st, 1928. To Raymond Barry, from Harriet Martland, Medical Examiner, Essex County. We've examined the remains of the deceased Amalia Maja. Our studies have revealed the following. Radioactive substances have been found in large quantities in the lower jaw, the upper jaw, and the lumbar vertebrae. No evidence of syphilis was found.
Body is radioactive.
Bones of dead girl kick off gamma rays.
Catherine Wiley of Consumers League declares new evidence shows company lied.
Dr. Joseph Neff, a Newark dentist who treated Amalia, has turned over portions of her jawbone that he removed from her mouth. This X-ray film shows that the jawbone is still radioactive. 5 years after the girl died.
Will this make your case?
Will this force a settlement? Make our case? No. This gentleman will make our case.
Last night, in a graphic exclusive, former president of the U.S. Radium Corporation broke his long silence with this shocking announcement.
Radium is one of the most dangerous substances known to man.
Dr. Von Sashaki, is it true you assisted in the autopsy?
Ja, and given my expertise in radium extraction, I was able to determine that Miss Maja absorbed enough radium to kill 10 people.
Doctor, what does this say about mild radium therapy? Are you now advising against it?
Radium is responsible for the deaths of these poor girls. It should be considered a most dangerous substance.
Do you agree with the doctor's prognosis? That the radium girls have only a year left to live?
From what I've seen, they'll be lucky to last that long.
Dr. Von Sashaki, what do you think this means for
ask a few more questions.
I'll tell you what we should have done. We should have taken that reporter up on her offer when we had the chance. That's what we should have done.
$5,000. Don't make me laugh.
We should have talked her up a bit too. Because I tell you, they'd have paid. And I'll tell you what else we should have done.
Stop telling me what we should have done. Lots of things we should have done. It don't do no good to think about him now.
All right. Keep your shirt on.
What'd you think, the red dress or the blue dress?
What did Barry say? Is he gonna go back to the company?
I like the red, but it don't fit so good now.
Is he gonna try to talk the company up a bit?
Miss Wiley says another interview will do the trick, so I say what's one more, you know?
It's worth a shot, don't you think? What if they came up to $5,000? Would you take it then?
Let them come up. I'm not caving in.
It's called a settlement.
A settlement? It's just a way for them to hide.
Let them hide.
Then they win.
So they win, they're gonna win anyways.
Nice. You got so much confidence in me.
For Christ's sake, Grace. You got one lawyer working for nothing up against 6 who are getting a bundle. And you think you're gonna win?
Do you know what I learned today? They put LED screens in the laboratory for the technicians.
Jesus.
Did we get LED screens?
Grace.
What do you think? 100 girls in a room, and they're gonna spend that kind of money
Grace?
on us. And they want to keep it all quiet. And Miss Wiley
Grace.
says they're gonna close down here and
Grace.
move across the river to New York to open up another factory like nothing ever happened.
What are we doing here, Grace? I thought the plan was you get some money to settle your debts. I mean, you get a better doctor. And then we move on with things.
Move on with things?
You're still wearing my ring.
Tommy.
Grace, there's a house for sale in my brother's neighborhood. 2 rooms up, 2 rooms down. Not much, but it's a start. I mean, you'll love it. It's already got flowered wallpaper. And the best thing, it's only 2 blocks away from the school.
The school? What do we need with the school?
Plan ahead for once.
Tommy, what do you think is gonna happen? After all this is over, do you think everything is gonna go back to the way that it was?
Why wouldn't it?
I gotta see the surgeon again.
Uh-huh.
I got some fluid, he's gonna drain it.
Okay.
And then he says there'll be more.
And we'll deal with it when it comes.
And still more! And then more! And still more! Why can't you see that? How can you talk about getting married and buying houses when you know there is nothing?
Grace, I can't think about that. I just want for us to be together now. Hey, I want to come home to my house, to my wife. I'm too old to be living this in-between life. I promise, Grace, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make this easy for you.
Here.
Grace, come on.
I should have given it back to you a long time ago.
I don't want it.
Tommy, please. Are you gonna make me say it?
You just need some rest. That's all. You're not getting enough sleep. I'll be back to see you tomorrow.
Tommy!
You get some rest!
Tommy! 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 Don't you do this to me! Please.
Arthur?
Charlie.
Aren't you headed home?
Listen, I've been thinking it over. I think we're taking the wrong approach here. We have to settle this case. We have to get these girls an offer they can accept.
Arthur, we agreed. We need a definitive victory. Otherwise, we invite more of the same problems.
Things have changed.
Arthur, I know you and Dan were close, but you can't let that cloud your judgment.
Shaki's going to testify.
We can deal with him.
How?
Put more money in his pocket.
So now you want to bribe him?
Not a bribe. Consideration.
Consideration.
For an expert witness. Whatever Barry is paying him, we'll just make a better offer.
You don't understand guilt, do you, Charlie?
Right now, I don't have that kind of luxury.
Let me tell you something about guilt. A guilty man has a tremendous need to unburden himself. His guilt can eat him alive. Don't you see? What Shaki wants is to be free. That's why he's testifying for the girls. That's why he'll never testify for us. No matter how much consideration you offer.
Settle with these girls, and you'll have to settle with all the others. Neff was right about that. This is just the beginning.
Get Markley in touch with Barry. Get a conversation going. Just come up with a figure the girls can
Arthur,
accept.
For God's sake, what are you trying to do to me? You want to wipe me out?
We've got to get this off the table.
Every penny I've put by the last 7 years, I have sunk into this company. Why? Because of you. Because you told me it was a sure thing. No, miss. Why work for Shaki when we can work for ourselves? Remember that one? Take a chance, Charlie. Take a chance.
Charlie, we were fooled. Shaki fooled us all. Look, The only thing we can do now is to sit back and try to clean it up as best as we can.
If you do this, it's the end, Arthur.
You're stepping down, Charlie?
Not me.
Well,
don't you know? They are one vote away from getting rid of you.
And whose vote is that, Charlie?
Arthur, have you so little faith in me?
I'll still be a stockholder, Charlie. You don't have enough votes to get me off the board. I will still be on the board.
And still on the hook if this company goes under. Think about that the next time your conscience starts to get the best of you.
March 15, 1928, to Raymond Berry, attorney at law, from Edward Markley, U.S. Radium Corporation, counseling. One of our expert witnesses has encountered a serious scheduling conflict, which makes it impossible for him to testify in April. We have therefore requested an extension until June. As for your request for a settlement, every case involves some humanitarian aspect. Therefore, that cannot be the basis for settling this one. But I have no doubt you'll be rewarded for the good work you're doing. If not in this world, then the next.
Tommy, please.
Grace Fryer? Is there a Grace Fryer here? Oh, it is so bright up here, I cannot even... Rise and shine!
Madam Curie?
Time for work!
Am I late? I set the alarm.
We have 5,000 diaries to paint before breakfast. Up, up, up! It is all for their whole efforts.
Please, I'm so very tired.
No complaining. Good soldiers don't complain.
But I'm dying.
And who isn't? Get up, Grace.
Irene?
Get up, sleepyhead. You will never make a quota like that.
It's not fair. It's not fair. I'm only 26. I should be married by now. I should have children. My own home.
We all have to make sacrifices sometimes.
I know I did.
But why? Why do we have to make sacrifices?
It's all for science, Grace.
Science, family, every life must be sacrificed to something. It is just a matter of choosing which.
I didn't choose. I didn't have no choice.
Sure you did, Grace, sure you did.
Catherine, Irene, don't do that. Catherine?
Look what you did, Grace. She's bleeding all over the dials.
I'm sorry. Catherine, I guess I shouldn't have said anything at all.
No problem. What is one more dead dial painter?
Grace! Grace, Mr. Markley will be here any minute.
Mr. Markley?
He's bringing the papers for you to sign. Did you fall asleep?
Has Miss Wiley been by?
Miss Wiley?
About Catherine. She said she might stop by. Did she come by?
I don't know, she might have.
Don't you know?
Look, someone came to the door a while ago and I think your brother answered it. Look, Grace, you've got to get ready.
They took Catherine to the hospital last night.
I know, dear, I know. After you talk to Mr. Markley, we'll go over there and see how she is. Now, let me put a comb through that hair.
I dreamt she died.
Grace! Don't speak such things.
If she dies, it's over.
We're 3 months behind on the mortgage, Grace.
I know that.
Can't let this go on.
15. $200. Not even a year's wages.
Well, it's better than nothing, ain't it?
That all I'm worth? Better than nothing?
Of course not, sweetheart, but we've got to be realistic. At the rate things are going, you'll never get inside that courtroom, and if you do, well, you can't prove nothing.
Mr. Barry thinks we can.
Well, Mr. Barry ain't paying the bills. There's the doctor and the bank and the coal man. Can't expect folks to treat us like charity just 'cause you're sick.
I'm not asking for charity, Ma. I just want what's owed to me.
Look, I know it feels like you're letting Catherine down, but if she decided to take the company's offer, would you hold it against her? No. Now we'll take that check and pay the bills, and whatever's left, you and Tom can have. A little something to get you started.
There's nothing to start, Ma.
Why do you have to be so hard on Tommy?
Ma, please don't.
I mean, can't you see he just can't face the thought of you not being with us?
I have to face it. Why can't he?
Do something with yourself, Grace.
$250,000. What would you do with $250,000, Miss Fryer? Just can't even imagine. No point to it. Ma, you didn't say I had mail. New Mexico. Just keep writing. She was here. Miss Wiley was here. Ma, Miss Wiley was here this morning. She left me a note.
Miss Fryer? Edward Markley.
Ma said you brought papers.
Yes. The terms spelled out, as we explained in our letter, $1,500 to you. I've got the check right here. All we need is your signature.
Grace, Mr. Mockley's a very busy man.
Oh, no. Look it over carefully. Take your time. If you prefer, I can leave it here and come back tomorrow.
No, we'll do this now.
What's hold harmless?
You agree to hold the company harmless from any further action.
No more lawsuits.
Correct.
Is that just me or anyone in my family?
Anyone in your family. It precludes a wrongful death action also.
This is a confidential settlement.
Yes.
You didn't say nothing about it being confidential.
Well, that's standard for most legal settlements, Miss Fryer. We value our privacy and yours as well. It cuts both ways. You agree to keep silent about the terms of the settlement, and so do we.
Well, that seems fair.
Need a pen?
I have another question.
Grace, Mr. Mockley already explained the settlement to you.
Ma.
I don't mind.
What is contributory negligence, Mr. Markley? It's not in that one. It was in them other papers that you filed when we did the lawsuit. The Radium Corporation said its defense was the statute of limitations and contributory negligence.
I'm not sure what you're asking, Miss Fryer.
It means it's all our fault, don't it?
Miss Fryer, it's a standard defense. I wouldn't take it personally.
How else can I take it?
Mr. Mockley, Grace has had an awful headache all day. Maybe you could just leave the papers.
Maybe he could just answer the damn question.
Why are you doing this?
Why didn't you tell me Miss Wiley was here?
You already made up your mind. She'd only try to talk you out of it.
What did she say about Catherine?
Mr. Mockley, if you leave the papers, Grace will sign them later.
Ma, what did she say about Catherine?
She said it don't look good.
Perhaps I can come back later when Miss Fryer is feeling better.
You didn't answer my question, Mr. Markley. And I would really like an answer. Because let me tell you, I quit school at 15. I went to work because my family needed the money. At your factory, they told us what to do, when to do it, how to do it. My family didn't raise me to make trouble, so I didn't make trouble. I did what I was told. I never ask questions. How do you get contributory negligence out of that?
As I said, it's a standard defense.
There is nothing standard about what happened to me.
We deeply regret your situation, Miss Fryer, but there is no evidence tying your condition to any actions by the U.S. Radium Corporation.
Then why are you giving me this money?
It's a humanitarian gesture.
A humanitarian gesture.
Mr. Markley, I'll take him papers.
Humanitarian. Month after month, you put us off. Delay after delay, knowing how sick we were, and how tired, and how desperate. Humanitarian, you were waiting for us to die.
Grace! Please stop this now!
Ma! One by one, I have watched my friends get sick and die in the most horrible way. And you think I should be grateful for any spare change that they throw at me?
Miss Fryer, this is a very generous offer. Under the circumstances, I would advise you to take it. Because it won't be on the table much longer.
What do you mean?
If Miss Fryer does not sign within 24 hours, we will be forced to withdraw our offer permanently.
Grace!
He's lying.
I beg your pardon, miss.
You're telling me if I don't sign this now, but I came back a week from now and said I changed my mind, you'd still rather go to court? You'd still rather a judge get a look at me and take your chances I don't win on sympathy alone? 24 hours. You're just trying to bully me.
Very well then, Miss Fryer. We will take that for a no, and we'll see you in court.
Yes, you will. You will see me. If they have to carry me in there, you will see me. You and Mr. Rita both.
You call that man back.
I am going to court, Mom.
What are you trying to prove? You know you can't win.
I want those people to look at me. I want them to look at me and explain how it's my fault I got sick working in their factory.
And what will that get you? What?
Ma, all my life, I've been doing what other people told me to do. I quit school because you said I should. I put the brush in my mouth because Mrs. McNeil said I should. I never said, oh, please, can't I finish school? I never said I don't like the taste of this paint. I never argued. Even though I knew. Ma, I knew that something wasn't right. At night, sometimes I'd be lying in bed and I'd see my dress hanging on the back of the closet door, all aglow. My shoes on the floor and my hairbrush and my comb on the counter, and there was so much light. Ma, there was so much light, and I never once questioned. I never once asked. Don't you see? They knew that I wouldn't. That's what they were counting on.
Arthur, so it is you who is making all this noise.
I left messages with your housekeeper. I know you got them.
As we are no longer in business together, I thought it best not to respond.
So that's what this is all about?
Perhaps a cup of tea will calm your nerves.
You never told us the paint was dangerous. You never said a word about it. Not to me, not to Dan.
No.
You didn't know. You invented the paint and you
didn't know until it
How
was
can you
too
lie
late.
like that? I should put you through that wall.
Perhaps you should, but you will not. You will sit down, you will have some tea, and you will calm yourself.
I was never the technical man. You were always the technical man.
Yeah, I was the technical man. Sit down, Arthur.
I sold watches, for Christ's sakes. I was a salesman.
Ja, und a good one at that. A very good head for the business. Not such a good head for the science, but for the business, very smart. Always you could find ways to cut the costs without losing the quality. That's a gift, Arthur.
Jesus Christ, what happened to your hands?
Oh, but it has been that way for some time.
Have you been dipping them in ink?
Dipping them in ink. How fond of the pretty stories you are? No. If only it were ink. Dr. Marsland tells me it's a necrosis of the tissue. The cells, they are dying. With the dial painters in the jaw it started. With me in the hands.
I didn't know.
No reason why you should. It has been a long time since we've seen each other.
How long have you...
But I have known for a while. Miss Wiley from the Consumers League persuaded me to assist Dr. Marsland in testing the girls for radium exposure. There aren't many people, you know, who can test for that sort of thing. So she came to me, knowing I had the equipment and, of course, the skill. I didn't want to believe her either, Arthur. I didn't want to believe that the girls could get sick from working with my paint. I wanted to show her it was a mistake. And so I agreed to help. Dr. Marsland and I conducted expired air tests on the girls. It was then that I found out. When my own breath registered as radioactive. But then, my fingers, they began to turn black. Now, you wish to have words with me?
I'm sorry.
Perhaps you should make an appointment with Dr. Marsland yourself.
Me? What for?
You did not notice the glowing dust on your shoes and your clothes when you came home from work.
How could I miss it? I tracked it all over the house.
You can be sure that a good deal of that is now in your lungs. Look familiar?
It's our promotional piece.
An excellent promotion. How many new sales did that book account for?
I didn't quite track it exactly. I like to think it helped our medical market quite a bit.
Page 96.
What?
The last chapter. Read it to me.
The last chapter. Radium. Dangerous effects.
Dangerous effects? Say, how many articles do you have listed there? 10, 15?
About 18, it looks like.
How far back do they go, these articles?
I don't know.
The first one. There. What is the date?
1906.
1906. Now, when you go into court, you plan to say that you had no idea that radium was dangerous. How do you plan to do that, Arthur? When your own book says that it was, how can you say that you did not know?
I never really read it.
What's that?
I never really read the book. I hired Amanda to put it together. I glanced at it in the galleys, but I never read the book.
How do you mean you never read the book?
It was a standard arrangement. An outside company prepared the piece. They were responsible for the content.
Which you never read.
I think you will find, Mr. Barry, that very few company presidents read their own promotions word for word.
It has your name on it. You authorized the book's release, and you had final approval of the content.
Mr. Lee was responsible for our promotional efforts at the time. I entrusted those activities to him.
Mr. Reader, you testified that you started at the U.S. Radium Corporation in 1918?
Yes, as plant manager.
And you held this position for how long?
4 years.
During those 4 years, how often did you venture into the studio?
Every day.
Every day. So you must have observed the girls pointing the brushes with their lips.
I don't recall.
You're saying you went into that studio every day and never saw a single girl put a brush to her mouth?
I said I don't recall it.
You don't recall it? What do you recall, Mr. Reader? You know, you're an awfully young man to have such a faulty memory.
Objection!
I withdraw. No more questions.
Your witness, Mr. Markley?
We have no questions for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, gentlemen, please approach. I'm ready to issue my ruling.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but we've yet to make our defense.
I realize that, Mr. Markley, but this proceeding is to determine standing. Now, I've heard enough in these 2 days to make that determination. The radium in these girls' bones is an ongoing source of poison in their systems. Nothing your witness can say will change that fact.
Our witnesses are prepared to testify that the company could not have known about the danger.
Mr. Markley, in the interest of justice, I am asking that the defense rest without calling any witnesses. We can conclude this hearing for today and schedule this case for trial.
All right, Your Honor.
Fine. I therefore rule that the statute of limitations has not been exhausted and these girls have standing to sue.
One thing, Your Honor. I have a very busy schedule with 2 cases pending and a key witness who will not be available until the end of summer. We can't appear in court until September.
Your Honor!
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but our chief expert witness is associated with an institution of higher learning. This is the busiest time of the year for him, and I can't expect him to appear.
Mr. Markley is responsible for this situation. He's the one that has demanded continuous delays.
Your Honor, we've just agreed to waive our rights to present a witness at this hearing. Surely he will not force us to make our defense without the presence of a key witness.
All right, Mr. Markley. Trial set for September. This hearing is adjourned.
Edward, why can't Flynn appear?
He's going to Europe.
But he's known about this trial for months. Why would he? Oh, very clever, Edward. And how long do you plan to keep this up?
As long as necessary.
Mr. Markley?
Mr. Barry, congratulations. I never believed the court would have gone for it.
You know full well those girls can't wait until September. One is so ill she can't appear in court.
My client has a right to make his defense.
We will not wait until September. I promise you that. One way or another, we'll find room on the docket. And your expert witness, be damned.
Edward. That girl is staring at me.
I wouldn't worry about it.
She thinks I planned this somehow. That I wanted for this to happen. How do I make her understand I didn't mean for this to happen?
You don't make her understand anything. You don't talk to her.
But she looks like death, Edward.
Arthur, they all look like death.
Grace? It's that man, Miss Wiley. He won't look at me. He won't ever look at me. He just stares right past me like I'm not even here.
It doesn't matter, Grace. He heard you.
June 4th, 1928. Nancy Jane Harlan for the New York Graphic.
Jack Youngwood for the Ledger.
Raymond Barry seeks trial date for early summer.
As U.S. Radium Corporation announces a settlement.
A settlement?
$10,000 cash for each girl, and $12 a week for life.
$12 a week?
Read all about it in the Ledger, your first source for news.
The company also agrees to pay the medical expenses of each girl for the remainder of her life. And the girls have agreed to submit to a periodic examination by a panel of physicians yet to be appointed. Questions?
What led to the settlement?
Is it an admission of responsibility?
What about other pending cases?
It was purely for humanitarian reasons that the U.S. Radium Corporation agreed to the settlement. We admit no liability whatsoever.
Where does the company go from here?
The U.S. Radium Corporation is pleased to have brought this lengthy litigation to an end and looks forward to many more years serving its customers in this community. And that's C.B. Lee, President.
Mr. Lee.
Excuse me, there will be no more questions.
Thank you.
Catherine Wiley of the New Jersey Consumers League. Our press statement.
Were you pleased with the outcome, Miss Wiley?
Finally, these poor girls are receiving some compensation for their suffering. But more importantly, the issue of radium poisoning has been brought to the public awareness.
Thank you, Miss Wiley.
The spelling on that, by the way, is Wiley with one L and Catherine with a K.
Miss Wiley! Miss Wiley!
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, I just... No time today. Thank you. Thank you.
Miss Wiley!
Well, Edward, looks like we're back in business.
What's your game plan?
Didn't I tell you? I found a buyer for the tailings that have been piling up behind the building on Ulm Street.
Oh.
Some contractor in Montclair needs a little infill.
Well, that's perfect.
Catherine, this won't do. Can't even see your name. That's better. Well, Catherine, I brought my watercolors today. It's a beautiful day, too. Trees are starting to turn, but it's still warm. Too warm for a sweater, you know. Not much for breeze. It's a fine day to paint.
Thought I might find you up here.
Guess you were right.
It's quiet up here.
Yup.
Well, I guess if you want to rest in peace, this is the place to do it.
I guess it is.
What do you call that?
Watercolors. I'm a little weak when it comes to landscapes, though.
No, it's good. It's great.
First thing I bought with the settlement money was some paints. Got some oils, too.
Big spender.
Then I got a car.
I didn't know you could drive.
I can't. My brother is teaching me. Drove me here today.
Grace, if you want to learn how to drive, I can teach you.
You got other things to do now, Tommy.
You know about that.
Tommy Orange just isn't that big.
I wanted to tell you myself. That's why I came here looking for you.
It's all right. Tommy, I'm happy for you. For both of you.
So, no hard feelings.
You think I got time for all that?
I'm glad it worked out for you. Are you glad? You don't feel like you backed down too soon, do you?
We didn't back down. They backed down.
Papa!
It was over here.
Oh, not this again!
This is where I saw her for the last time.
This is morbid, Papa.
I stood here for a while. She didn't notice me at first, but something made her look up.
Oh, my.
No wonder Mama won't come for drives with you anymore. This is how you spend your Sundays.
I saw her looking at me, and I turned away.
It's just like that day at the courthouse. He can't bring himself to look at me.
You need to find another hobby. Retirement isn't good for you.
My heart started pounding, Harriet. I never knew what I would say to her if I had the chance. And suddenly there she was. And I had the chance.
So what did you say?
I couldn't bring myself to speak.
It's as if he's afraid to look at me.
I had my chance. And I couldn't speak.
He's afraid of me.
Oh, Papa, that was years ago. Why don't you just forget about it? It's not like it was your fault. Nobody knew about things like that back then. Science just wasn't as advanced the way it is now. Come on.
I think back on those days, and I try to think to myself how it could have happened. I remember so clearly climbing the stairs to the studio at Alden Street. At the top of those stairs, those wide, high windows, the slant of light, and the way it hit the floor. The way the floor creaked under my feet, and the smell of the place. Chalky like an old schoolroom. And all those girls, schoolgirls really, all bent to the task in their plain white smocks. No man could have worked the way those girls did. So delicately, so quickly. Their brushes flying from the dials to the paint, to the dials to their lips. Try as I might, but I can't remember their faces. I never saw their faces.